Alright, so for lesson 4, we're looking at a very quick lesson. As you can see here, there's only 2 questions that you need to complete. But we're looking at the characteristics of distributions just for numerical data. So we can describe a histogram, which is what we learned in the previous lesson, based on its shape, center, and spread. So let's first look at shape. Shape can either be symmetric or skewed. So what does symmetric mean? Symmetric, as you might know by now, basically means it's a mirror image of itself from the center. Okay, so this one here is almost like a perfect symmetrical histogram, because this is the middle bit, the left and the right are identical, the left and the right are identical, and so on. This is what you call perfect symmetry. Okay, this is symmetric. Whereas this one is approximately symmetric. As you can see, the shape of it sort of looks symmetric, but is not perfectly symmetric. You can almost draw like a bell curve like that to say that it looks the same on the left and the right, approximately. Whereas this one is exactly the same on left and right. What does positively skewed and negatively skewed mean? Okay, so if a histogram is not symmetrical, then it's skewed. Either the data is bulking up to the right, or the data is bulking up to the left. Okay. Histogram may be positively or negatively skewed, and for me, when I learnt this first time a long time ago, I always got confused which one was positive and which one was negative. I'm guessing that it's going to be very, at first, difficult to remember which is which, but if you can't remember which one's which, it's always good to have this in your summary book, so that way you can just refer back to it just for peace of mind. But to explain which one's positive and which one's negative, this here is what we call the tail. Okay, tails off. The numbers get smaller and smaller here on the right hand side. Okay, and on the right hand side is where the numbers are more positive. Okay, so we're just looking at this one here. Okay, so going to the right, the tail off is going to the right, which means the number are getting bigger and bigger, which means the numbers are getting more and more positive. Okay, this here is also a tail, but this time it's tailing off to the left. Okay, I shouldn't write tails, I should just write tail. This one here is tailing off to the left. Okay, which means the numbers are, the tail's pointing in the negative direction. So if we were to look here, then we'd have more negative numbers on the left. That's how I know that this one here is negatively skewed. But like I said, if you're not quite sure about that one, having it in your summary notes will help. So if we're comparing, now talking about center, we're going to be just simply talking about two distributions might differ in center if the values of one distribution are generally larger than the other. Okay, as you can see here, they both look the same. Okay, both histogram E and F. However, this one, the biggest number is at between 10 and 11, and this one here, the biggest number is between 15 and 16, whereas the smallest number for this one is between 3 and 4, and the smallest number here is between 8 and 9. So they've got the same sort of shape, but the center is different. Okay, so that means that histogram F has larger values than histogram E. So as it says here, it is identical in shape, but moved horizontally several units to the right, indicating that these distributions differ in location and center. Alright, so last thing is comparing the spread. Okay, so two distributions are different in spread if the values of one distribution are more variable. So what we mean by variable is more spread out than the other. Okay, so this is like how big this one is, whereas this one is a bit more spread out, it's a bit more variable. Okay, the numbers can take smaller values here and larger values, whereas in this one here for histogram G, it's sort of more condensed to those two biggest and smallest numbers. Alright, so how do we formally talk about this? Histograms G and H illustrate the difference in spread. While both are centered about the same place, histogram H is more spread out. Okay, it's more variable. So that is it for lesson 4. Thank you very much. Don't forget to complete exercise 2D, which is only questions 1 and 2.